We're back. Yeah, we're back. What can we say? It's the end of April review show, and man, oh man, April was a huge month for us here. Not only excuse me, not only on the channel, but also with stuff outside the channel. We went to Buckeyegamefest. We got to meet up and check out some of our buddies, and which we haven't seen for a little while. We got to hook up with all of our old cabbies at the Buckeyegamefest. We also got to hook up with Herman Lutman. We also got to meet up with the Players Aid and Bill Simone, one of the great subscribers here on the channel that was at Buckeyegamefest. So we had a busy month, and we're going to talk about it all in this episode. So this is going to be a super long episode. I apologize right now, ahead of time. Is there a lot to talk about? I told you at the end of March, April was going to get crazy, and it was. So let's get right into it, and we're going to talk all about what we did, how all the games we played, give you a 10-second review of each of them, or kind of overview of them, not even a review, just kind of an overview of what the game is like. And let you know where we stand in after April. Let's show you the stats. Let's show you the stats first. So let's start there. Give you something to look at. So April 2024. This is why 2024 for me was all about getting more organized, about keeping things more organized. And this is why. This is exactly why. Because if somebody was to ask me today, which is May 6th, is it the 6th? Yes, it's May the 6th. Oh, hey, Jester, what games did you play in April? I would be able to mention a couple of them, but I completely forgot about half of these things. So this is why every single time I play something, I log it into the board game geek, because I would never remember this stuff. And I also, not only do I log it into my board game geek, I also have an Excel sheet and a Microsoft Word document that I'm keeping track of everything going on in my game playing, because again, you can see there is 26 games on this list. If I was to have to go back and do this at the end of the month, like I just had to go because we were gone, and April 26th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30, I forget what the dates were, but we were gone for like a week. We played like 15 different games, 20 different games, and I had to, tonight, log all those games in on my sheets and everything, which took like half an hour. So you have to stay on this stuff. I'm telling you guys, trust me on this one, coming from the heart here. If you're going to try and keep track of what you're doing, please make sure you do it, and you just do it every time, and so you can remember what you did as well. In fact, you can see at the top of our sheet here for April 2024, you can see where it says March, VJ Anagara. For some reason, because we didn't play it on my channel, we played it on Tony's channel, I mistakenly didn't record it. And when I was reviewing things, I was like, oh, wait, I never wrote down on my sheet that we actually played that. So add VJ Anagara into the March. So we would have a total of 17 different games. 3 new games played in March. For a total of 16 brand new games played. Well, you'll see the update here. As you can see with April, holy crap, April was a huge month for us. We played, all right, so let's start at the top. Let's just start at the top, and we'll go from there. So we played Terraforming Mars. It's been a while. Wanted to play Terraforming Mars. Was that with Phoenix Knight? I can't remember if we played with Phoenix Knight or not. I apologize if we did or not. I was not sure. But anyways, Terraforming Mars is a engine building card-based game trying to take over Mars, and kind of a classic game by now. A lot of you probably have heard of this game. Really good game, very interesting, and it's one of these games. It's kind of fallen down my top 100 because I just don't play it a lot. And there's other games that kind of do the same thing. So I like to go back to these other games and repair and see how they are. Phoenix Knight. No, we didn't play it. Okay, so I wasn't sure if that was one of the ones we played or not. Number 2, we played Gen T's Deluxe Edition, which is interesting. It has this really interesting mechanic where you have different, let's say, workers over here, and you have peasants over here, and you earn them, but pieces can't cross one another. So you're always kind of vying for how you're going to do it, and you're trying to complete different missions. Great little fun game. Played fine solo, I think. And it wasn't too bad. I think it was only 3 or 4 turns long. It's not super long game, especially for the solo. So, and the deluxe components, I'm glad I got the deluxe components. And that was nice because you got little wooden meeples for everything, which is much better than the cardboard. So, pretty decent little game. Then we played Mystic Vale. I'm not sure I did this on the channel, actually. I was going to do it on the channel, but I think I was getting ready for dinner or something, so I decided to play it on the computer version so I could refresh my memory so when I did do it on the channel. Mystic Vale is such a good game and so interesting, especially with the digital version, so it keeps track of everything. And we did pretty good with that. It's a how do you put it? Deck building game but instead of deck of cards, you're using this mechanism where you're sliding cards into plastic sleeves to create like a master cards. And it's got a little push your luck element on there and stuff. Great little game. We played Clank, which I got out because I realized that Steam has an app. You can download an app to play. And I'm like, cool, then I'm going to play Clank so that I can play it solo and stuff. And then we started playing the app, and I was like completely lost. And I said, screw this. Got rid of the app and just played it two-handed solo. It's a great little fun game of press your luck, see how far you see what treasures you can get. But it is one of these games doesn't play great solo. I believe it doesn't play great solo. You need 2, 3, 4 people because it's a racing game, deck building game when you're trying to get as deep down in the dungeon, get the best reward, and get out before everyone else. So there's some press your luck element and all that. So it just doesn't play great solo. I've tried it. I've even hosted my own tournament, my Clank tournament, where I made up random characters that were playing one another, like Clint Eastwood and James Bond and Genghis Khan and Sherlock Holmes, and just putting them all up against one another just to see who would win. But it's just, I tried to add flavor to the game as a solo player, and it still didn't do it for me. Fall Classic Baseball is a great baseball simulation, probably one of my favorites. It's quick, it's easy, it plays great solo, solitaire, great components, probably one of my favorite baseball sims out there. Agents of Smersh, a new one. As you can see down the list, we played 11 new games in April for a total of 27 new games played in 2024. We played a total of 31 game sessions logged in April for a total of 142 logs sessions so far in 2024. Agents of Smersh. Yeah, it's kind of a James Bond 1960s, 70s kind of spy theme game. Got some interesting elements to it. Again, it does have a solo mode. There is an expansion we bought, and I think it plays fine. It's just, I think it would be better this is one of those adventure games that might be better to play with more people. But I think it plays fine solo. Choose Your Own Adventure, House of Danger. Actually, I've got this set up because I want to get back and play the second and third and fourth and fifth missions. Very simple. There's not a lot of components to it. It's mostly just a lot of these little clue cards and stuff, and you're reading stuff out of a book. It's basically your old book. Read a paragraph, make a decision, go to a different paragraph, and it's one of those build your own adventure. You can actually pick this up on Noble Knight for less than $10 now. I thought that was a great price for, I mean, you're getting a bunch of cards in here. Plus you're getting, I don't want to mix everything up too badly because I'm in the middle of playing through the game. But unfortunately, I think this is one of these games where once you play it once, I don't think you're going to go through it again because you kind of know what story to make and what story not to make. Nordic and Christopher, what's going on, fellas? Good to see everyone. So, still a great little fun game. Choose your own little adventure. I didn't even know they had a board game, Choose Your Own Adventure. I used to play the old Choose Your Adventure manual things. So, then we played Terracotta Army, and when I'm just thinking, like, seriously, that was like at maybe the beginning or middle of April, and I'm like, holy crap. That literally in my life seems like it was like 6 months ago. That's how much we've done in the last month. It is crazy how much we've done. And when you look at these games, and that's again why I specifically am putting in the time and effort to create these lists and put this information out there, because again, if you guys were to ask me today, what games did you play in April? I would be able to name about 10, 15 of them, but I would not have remembered that I played Terracotta Army. It seems like 6 months ago, to be honest. It's crazy. Great game. Highly, highly recommend it. And does play great solo. It also plays great, obviously, multiplayer, but it does have a good solo mode with some interesting decisions to make. And it's kind of a matrix building with different pieces to try and earn points at the end of the game type thing. Player of the game, golf. So this is one of these games that is designed kind of open-ended and supposed to simulate you playing through a whole tournament, like round 1, round 2, round 3, and round 4. But as the designer said in the rules, this is kind of designed open-ended. You can do whatever you want with it. So we actually took the final 4 golfers from the 2018 Masters and replayed through the final round hole by hole, which is interesting. Again, not the way the game is designed, but again, it is, as the designer said, it's open-ended to play it however you want to play it. Here's the stats, here's the ratings. Use these charts, do whatever you want with it. So we did, and it's played great. It played great. It's not a shot-by-shot thing. It's a hole-by-hole thing. So you're going to roll to find out what they scored on the hole. Either bogey, birdie, whatever. So it's not a shot-by-shot thing. But it's still enough that I think it was interesting and certainly put out a wild final round for us, so that was kind of cool. Hexy's big into golf. I didn't know he was, really. That's interesting. Good to know that. I might have to let him know about this game. Then we played Star Realms because, again, well, I can say this with a lot of these games. It's one of these games, sits on my shelf, doing nothing, and I happened to go, oh, hey, let's play this one. And I pulled the little box off the counter and started playing it because, again, I have the Steam purchase, which does everything for you, but I also like to actually have the components in your hand and play them. So Star Realms is a deck-building, competitive, space-themed card game where you're playing against and trying to destroy your opponent by doing 50 or 40 or 50 points of damage to them before they do 40 or 50 points of damage to you. Great, fun, interesting game. There is a solo mode you can get with the Frontiers expansion. I think it's called the Frontiers. If you buy the Frontiers expansion, it makes solo scenarios for you. So that's probably, if you're going to play it solo, the better way to do it. or just buy the Steam app. Then we played Wormspan. Oh boy, we could have a whole discussion on Wormspan, right? It's yes, it's called Frontiers. Okay, Wormspan. It is basically Wingspan with dragons, with some different rules and stuff. So if you're familiar with Wingspan, very similar, but in each of the different locations, you have to build a cave for the dragon to live in, and each of the caves has their own special abilities, their own costs, their own resources. There's a deck of them, so you also have to get these cards. So instead of the egg mechanism in Wingspan is kind of this cave mechanism. And I like how each of the games has its own special ability and its own costs and its own rewards, as opposed to the eggs, which are all the same. So there is some differences to Wingspan. I think there could be more to this game, obviously, but it's still a decent game if you like engine building games. Astronauts. So I gave this game another whirl because I just picked up one of the expansions. I forget the name of it. And when I got the expansion in, I opened the box. And one of my main problems I had with the original was the player boards were so thin and flimsy and the components were crap. Well, for some reason, I didn't know this. They re-released the game with better components and thicker boards and stuff. So, I played the game again with the new expansion character, one of the expansion characters, and had a much better time with it because I didn't have that bad feeling. Yes, graphics in the game are important. The components are important because it could put you in bad mood playing with crappy components. It can put you in a bad mood playing the game when it doesn't look nice. When the game does look nice, it can put you in a great mood. And when the components are nice, it can put you in a great mood. So those things are obviously important. Dominion, Guilds, and Cornucopia here on ID Jester's channel, our number one Dominion tutorial series in the whole world. We are trying to create the best Dominion tutorial series in the world. We are continuing it. We got to look at the Guilds and Cornucopia, both the first edition, the second edition, and the upgrade pack. So we looked at all three of these parts because I have all three of them. And we looked at what was in each of the boxes, what the cards were, what cards were removed from the first edition, what cards were added to the second edition, what you get in the box, everything you need to know about Guilds and Cornucopia, we show you. And then we actually play on the Steam version, Guilds and Cornucopia Dominion, and use some of these cards, play against the AI, and see how well we did. I think one time, did we win both of them? I know we won one. I think we won both of them, but maybe not. I can't remember. Maybe we lost one. But anyways, great time. Then we played Tijuana Tiyasuyu. Try and say that 12 times really fast. Tijuana Tiyasuyu. This is another one of the T games that I and a lot of players out there love. By David Turtsey and a few of the other fellas. And this is one of the ones that's been sitting on my shelf over there. My shelf of shame. And I said, nope, this is the month. We're going to get it out. We're going to try it. We're going to play it. I love Tekinu. I love Taltim. I love Teotihuacan. A bunch of the T games. I love them. But Teotihuacan see, I can't even say it now because I've got too many of the T words and my brain's messing around with me. Tijuana, something close to that. Anyways, is I'm gonna say not my favorite. To say it bluntly, there is a lot of mechanics in this game that just doesn't seem You're putting a piece on a big grid of a pyramid. You're putting pieces down. It's a worker placement. Depending on the color of the piece, where you put it down, what's next to it, you can get certain pieces, which are potatoes and some other resource. I forget. I'm forgetting what the other. There's a bunch of different resources. So you can get a bunch of resources based upon where you put your little figures down, but based upon the color they are. Then there's this whole other board on the player board where you can do some kind of attacks. It's I don't know what they were thinking, to be honest. I love my teen games, and maybe I need to try this one again, but I'll tell you what, after a couple hours, and even for me, I was like, just not a big fan. And I know a lot of people are not super thrilled with this game compared to a lot of the other teen games. I mean, you are going up against greatness when you're talking about some of the other teen games. So it's always, you're going to have games that are not as good. I just feel like this is a dud game. I mean, you could miss this one because, if I was going to tell somebody, which T games to buy, this would be the one on the bottom of the list. So just keep that in mind. You might want to try it. You might want to invest into it. Find out if it might be for you. It might be for some people out there, but it just wasn't for me. That's for sure. So then we followed that directly up with another brand new game called Mosaic, a story of civilization. I love my civilization games. I say that every time because people don't realize how much I love my civilization games. I love taking things and then expanding and building out on them. I always played the Sid Meier's civilization games online and on the computer and stuff. So I love board games that do the same thing. This is very interesting. I like this game a lot. Two caveats with this. Two caveats that I will say right now. If you are, Chester, it's giving it his 2 thumbs up, right? Two caveats. Number one is the company that makes this game, for shame on them, because the only way to get the solo mode is to order the Sphinx Kickstarter edition. So if you buy just Mosaic, you don't get any solo mode, you don't get any solo cards, you don't get anything that helps you play it solo. So if you're not playing it solo, you're playing it with people, and you're only going to play it with people, then you can buy just a regular edition. If you're going to play it solo, you need the Sphinx edition because it's got the solo cards, it's got the solo. I think they posted the solo mode online, so you can print it out and create your own stuff, but it's just a lot of work to do all that crap, to be honest, when you should just buy the Sphinx edition. But Mosaic, a story of civilization, very interesting, great mechanics, plays super good solo mode. The AI is basically just getting in your way, taking pieces and taking parts and taking up spaces on the board and forcing you into making tough decisions, which is what an AI should do. And then you have these tough decisions to make. So I would definitely highly recommend you watch my playthrough or anyone else's playthrough out there. It's not one of these games you're going to see 1,000 videos of, like Wormspan. I mean, like literally there's probably 10,000 videos of Wormspan out there. You might be lucky to find 5 or 6 on Mosaic. Especially solo. I think I've only seen 2, including mine. I think there was like one other, and then mine. So, you should watch mine. I'm just saying. Appa Baseball. There's not much to say. It's just a sports sim. Great. If you haven't seen Appa on my channel yet, I don't know what you're doing. If you're into sports sims at all, give Appa Baseball a try. It is a great game. It's easy. It's quick. It plays wonderful. The card quality is great. And you can play a very good, interesting game in about 20-30 minutes, depending on how quick you are. Aeon Zen. Now, I know we did play with Phoenix Knight Aeon Zen multiplayer online. And I try to remember if I know I didn't play because again, I would love to play this game, but it is literally buried, and I can't even show you my problems. But it would take me between 40 to, I would have to move 40 to 50 games on the way to get to my Aeon's End stuff. So I know we've played it online digitally. I'm trying to think that if I played it digitally without Phoenix Knight, I don't recall if I did or not. But Aeon's End is a deck management, deck building, deck management, deck building. I'm not sure what to call it because you're not shuffling your deck. It's got some neat mechanics. Very similar to Astro Knights. Actually, Astro Knights is a ripoff of Aeon's End. But Aeon's End is, I think, in my top 10 of all times. It's a great, plays great solo. I played Aeon's End a couple of times. Okay. Definitely call it deck building. Yeah, I'd see it's one of these things. Do you call it deck building when you're not shuffling? Yes, you probably do because you are managing the deck and putting cards in and taking cards out, even though you're not shuffling. It's a great, fun, interesting game. There's nothing wrong with it. It's super good. Like I said, my top 10, I think it was in my top 10 of 2024. Probably be there for a long time. They just released a brand new Kickstarter called Descent, I think it's called. So I've got that Kickstarter coming. They've done a legacy version. So if you like doing the legacy stuff, if you like, creating your own creation as you're playing through the game, they got a nice version for that. They also have a couple of the boxes where you can go through campaigns. I'm trying to think. Aeon's something. What's the name of one of the expansions? I know I can see the box cover. I just can't think of the name of it. Anyways, you can go through some campaigns. When you start getting a whole bunch of different expansions and all the little mini expansions and everything, you have a ton of characters, a ton of enemies to go up against, a ton of different powers and special abilities to play with, and endless variety. So if you like that stuff, definitely Aeon's End. Harry Potter, the deck building game, which was in my top 25 games of all time, maybe even the top 20, was in the 20 to 25 range, I think, last time, maybe even down to like 18. And I'll tell you what, it's going to take a big fall. I did not have a good time playing it this time. I'm in mission 6. And this is one of these games where you start off, you got a couple characters and a couple things, and then blah, blah, blah. And then you open boxes to go to chapter 2, and it adds things to the game, and it adds new components, and it adds new enemies. And then you play through mission 2, and then you do the same thing. Oh, mission 3, we open a new box. We add some more stuff in. We add some more enemies. We add some more abilities. We flipping over characters, making them more powerful, blah, blah, blah. Doing the same thing with mission 4, mission 5. We get to mission 6 now. The game is like bogging down for me with how much is going on. It just wasn't as fun. There is a ton of enemies you got to go through now, and it's just such a slog to get through these enemies. It's like, in the beginning there's like a stack of like 6 enemies you got to get through, but every time you're adding new enemies in the deck. So now we're up to like 10 or 12 enemies we got to, and it's just such a slog to get through them. I love this game. I really, really love this game a mission or 2 ago, but now we're getting more and more stuff, and it's just sometimes less is not more. I'm telling you guys. We've talked about this many times on the channel. Sometimes less is not more. Sometimes less is less. You got a much tighter, better experience, but when you start adding more things to the game, you got more combos, more randomness, more everything going on. It is starting to get a lot more difficult, as Phoenix Knight said. To be fair, the Harry Potter does start to ramp up in difficulty in mission 6 and 7. And it does. It is super, again, that's part of it. It is more difficult, but it takes some of the fun out of it because it turns it into a slog. Like you should, if I'm adding 2 enemies in, I should randomly shuffle 2 enemies out. I should not be just keep building the enemy deck up and up because it's just going to make the game longer and longer and longer. And now we're up to, I don't know, 12, 15 enemies you're fighting, which means instead of an hour to an hour and a half game, you're playing a 2 to 2.5 hour game. And when you're playing it solo, like myself, it becomes a real slog. It does. I want to get through the campaign. I want to get through I think there's 7 chapters in the main box, and then there's Monsters and Potions, which adds another 6 or 7 campaign, and then there's a second expansion that adds, I think, 5 more missions. So there's a lot of stuff I still have left to do. I think I would house rule, like, take your villains, shuffle them up, and then get rid of half of them. Just get rid of half, because otherwise it's just going to slog the game down to a crawl, in my opinion. Glory Days College Football, we decided to play that again. That was in my top. That was my sports game of the year for 2023. Yes, I love... First of all, you don't find many college football games, okay? Sports games out there, college football, not a big variety of games. So because it's a really good game, it does what I want it to do in that it plays a football game in a reasonable amount of time, because there's a hybrid mode which allows you to simulate a drive, find out if anything special happens on that drive. If not, they punt it away. You don't need to waste 20 minutes playing through 18 plays to find out they just punt the ball away. You can find that out in one roll of the dice. But then if something does interesting happen, you can find that out and pick it up and go into play-by-play mode when you get into the red zone, in a scoring opportunity, so you can live those moments. Great game. Highly recommend it. Glory Days College Football, my 2023 sports game of the year. So if you enjoy college football, which, I mean, that's, for me, is like number 1, 2, maybe top 3 sports of all time for me. So I love that. And, so when a good game comes along that lets me play it in a reasonable amount of time, it's obviously going to be very high on my list. Then we did something. We did something I didn't know I wanted to do, and I thought I would try it. And what we ended up doing was playing D100 Dungeon, which is a solitaire dungeon crawl. Solitaire dungeon crawl. Yes, we'll call it that. I think it's something that we'll call it like that. There are from what I understand, there's 4 or 5 different really good ones. D100 Dungeon. There's a game called 4 Against Darkness. There's a game called 2D6 Dungeon. And there's another one called Niles Corrales or something like that. Miles Corrales. So I ended up picking them all up. You can buy them in the PDF off of Drive-Thru RPG. And they basically allow you to play with a character and create a dungeon on the fly. But obviously with D100 Dungeon, rolling at D100, you roll to find out what's in the dungeon. You roll to find out what monsters are there. You roll for everything. You roll to find out what kind of armor you start with. You roll to find out what kind of weapons you start with. You're rolling, just basically rolling. It's basically Dungeons and Dragons for the solo player without a DM. Let's put it that way. So if you like that stuff, which, as a board game player, there is obviously board games. We got many of them here in my collection. We have, Legend of Drizzt, Castle Ravenloft, Wrath of Ashladon. I have role playing adventure. I've got tons and tons. I got what's it called? Bard Song. Couldn't think of the word of it. So I've got lots of Dungeons and Dragons, dungeon delving games here. So do I need a solitaire, pen and paper, dungeon crawl game when I could just, if I wanted to do that, I could literally just reach up there and play one of those games? Which puts me in a dilemma of what do these games bring to the table? What does a solo chart-based dungeon crawl book game, what does it bring that I can't get in a regular board game? And after just one play with D100 Dungeon, I had a good time playing the game, but I was like, okay, I mean, I could just play a board game. I'm not, and I guess I would ask somebody that plays D100 Dungeon or D2D6 Dungeon or 4 Against Darkness, what is the allure for a board game player to venture into that avenue? I don't see the allure of, okay, I could play a board game, but I could also just play it because they're not cheap. Like, it's $15 for just a downloadable PDF. If you want to print out of a book, it's like $35, which is, to be honest, like the cost of a board game I can get with miniatures and pieces and parts and everything. I'm not 100% sure what the allure is of it. I think it's, don't get me wrong, the solitaire dungeon delving book games where you're creating things on the fly is great. It's fun. It's interesting. There's so many good things to do with it. I'm just trying to figure out why I would want to do that over playing a board game. Now, maybe because board games, there's a lot more setup time, a lot more downtime. I wouldn't say cost because I think cost is board game cost, and these book games are, I mean, like I said, the book games are $35 just for the core book, and there's usually, I mean, if you go to four against Darkness, I think they have somewhere between 25 to 30 different expansion books, each at like $10 to $20 a piece. You're talking like $600 for all that stuff. Maybe if you get into a mood for it, it's great. Like I said, nothing. Don't get me wrong. I had a good time and I played it, but at the end, I was like, okay, what am I doing? Sure, I could take my character on, level him up, and get some XP and stuff, but I'm like, I didn't feel the need to. Like, I was kind of done with it. So I bought all 4 of the core books and a couple of the expansions. I spent like $80 because I wanted to try them and see what they were like. So we're gonna try them on the channel and see what we think. Rather just take $600 for all those expansions. Mongoose Dragon War 2nd edition. Yeah, it was fine, don't get me wrong. It's very random. We need to have a discussion someday on my channel about random stuff in games. Is it good or is it not good? Because random stuff is good to a point. Like when I created my random character, I ended up rolling randomly and I got like one of the best weapons in the game to start with. So like literally we were hacking and slashing these monsters left and right without any problems. I watched a guy online who started with a dagger and he couldn't kill anything. It was taking a couple hits. He was dying to he was getting his ass kicked by a rat. Like one of the introductory. So while randomization is great, it also can be a downfall to your game because for me, maybe that's why I would say I was bored, but I was not having a good time because I was just like, oh, it's just another thing I gotta kill. Okay, let's just, whatever it is, we'll just kill it because we rolled this really good sword. So again, this will be something maybe we'll explore through the year and find out. I'd like to see, I think Phoenix Knights said they ended up getting some of these, picked up the base book of D100 Dungeon and Drive Through RPG, and I found a physical book of D100 Dungeon from Noble Knights. Cool. I would like to see other people playing it. I would like to get their thoughts and opinions in here because, again, I see the allure. Sure, you can play a lot of these games are just solo character. 4 against dungeon is 4 characters, but solo characters against a dungeon, all random locations, random enemies, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, you're always going in. You don't have to. There is something to say with this because, again, if I get out Descent and put Descent on the table, then I've got pieces and parts and minis and I've got to get the dungeon pieces out and I've got to find all the wound markers and I got to, all that crap, which you don't have to worry about when you're doing the pen and paper stuff. So I see the allure that way. Like it streamlines everything. You don't have as much space to deal with. I probably should get into a discussion, and we'll probably do that in another time. Yes, you can play Descent Solo. I played Descent Solo. Then we played Payoff Pitch. Probably my favorite baseball sim at this moment in the world. It's got the best card quality in the world. It plays smooth. It has batter and pitcher interactions every single play. It gives you realistic results. There's just so much to love about it. You can buy a full season for a very reasonable price. Appa, I'm looking right at you, Appa. So one of the best, if not the best out there. If you don't know about Payoff Pitch, try it out. Buy you a season file and see what you think. Watch my videos. Phoenix Knights got it in his channel. There's 100 guys now playing this game. It's very, very good. If you like batter pitcher interactions and how they work against one another. Good pitchers act like good pitchers. It's not just a random dice roll, which is a big turnoff in games like Stratomatic because I can have the best pitcher in the world out here, but if I never roll anything on his card, I will never find out how good that pitcher is. So, what's up? Oh, Legends of Wrestling. So we started our own. Another thing we decided to do was add our own wrestling league. We did 2 30-man Royal Rumble. We did 2 of them. So that was we took 60 characters and we had them all fight against one another, Royal Rumble style. Throw them out of the ring. Once you're thrown out of the ring, you're out. And the 2 winners are going up against one another for our first World Championship in the Jesters League of Champions in Legends of Wrestling. So by doing that Royal Rumble, we've got characters. We have interactions with characters that knocked out other characters. So now we got a little history growing through our league. I think it's super cool. It's just a fun little interesting way to, I think, start a league. So that's what we're going to do and see how it goes. Play it a couple a couple times a year, and we'll have a special Legends of Wrestling matchup for you. We'll create some. We've got some tag teams we're already creating because we've had several as we did our knockout Royal Rumble. There was several of them that got to join with people and throw other people out of the ring. And so we've got some tag teams that have already been teaming up. We got good guys and bad guys, and it's got it all. Legends of Wrestling. And then, of course, we played Wingspan. This is on the plane. We were on the way to Buckeyegamefest last week. So we're playing Wingspan on the plane, and then we're in Columbus, Ohio for Buckeyegamefest, but we're not at Buckeyegamefest because I go to my buddy's house who wants to get together and play, and I'll show you guys some videos, or not videos, some pictures, probably Saturday during the live stream on things we did, but he's a big miniatures guy, and so we played the Black Powder miniature rules. So, holy crap. What did we do in April? Well, we did all kinds of crazy things. Number one, we played a solo player dungeon crawl D100, which we've never done in our entire lifetime. We also started a Leagues of Legends of Wrestling, and then we played a miniatures game that we've never played in our entire lifetime. I don't do miniatures. I don't even like miniatures. My buddy likes miniatures, so we played them. And they would play the Black Powder. Very interesting, easy game to play. He taught it in like 10 minutes. Bunch of D6s. You're rolling the D6. You're moving little miniatures on the board, firing. He had all the printouts and all the terrain pieces and super cool stuff if you're into that stuff. My miniatures are all fantasy. I'm playing dungeon crawls. That's the only miniatures that I play. I could never play miniatures again in my entire lifetime and be happy. It's just not a thing that I do. It just does never interest me. It just never, I don't know. Just something I don't. Again, this is like the D100 dungeon. I'm missing the allure of a miniatures game. Like, I could take the miniatures game and just put it on the hex encounter. I could just play it with the hex encounter. I don't need the miniatures. Miniatures take up a bunch of space. They supposedly make it look cool, but half the time, okay, sure, whatever. Anyways, not to talk bad about them, but first time we've ever played it. It was fun. I won, of course. We all know I was going to win. Then we played Rebel Fury, 2024 new release by Mark Herman. Yes, Mark Herman. And we played another. Well, the Black Powders, I should mention, we played a Confederates versus the Union. I forget the mission. He just kind of had like a bridge scenario. And so we played Rebel Fury, which was basically the same thing. It was the Chickamauga scenario. I played the Confederates. He played the Union again. And it was fine. It was good. First time I ever played it. So, I mean, it was a learning experience for both of us. I won, but neither one of us knew what we were really, we knew how to play the game, but we didn't know how to play the game with all the rules. And, okay, we understand the rules, but what should you be doing? I mean, there's a rule where if you can, like, for my side, if I could get all my figures to have an uninterrupted line in supply from the left-hand side board all the way across the board to Chickamauga, I could win. And I'm like, how in the hell am I going to do that? So there's got to be a way that, and we were both, he has the same thing where he could win if he had an uninterrupted line of command from Chickamauga down to the town that's right in front of me, whatever the name of it was. And like literally all I had to do is take like one of my little replacements and put him in that town, and now he just blocked that line of communication. So the only way for him to win was to come all the way across the board and kill that guy. So we were both like confusiated. Like, how in the hell are those even win conditions even possible? Like, I could take one step unit and just put it there and block you, and you can't win now. So haha. Anyways, and then we played Night of Man by Flying Pig. We played 11 new games. I'm not going to say much about Night of Man. It's a typical Mark Walker design where it's all over the board, and trying to get inside that guy's head is like it's like a matrix to get inside that guy's head. And trying to figure out how he put the stuff in the rule book. I'm sure it's all there, but it's like trying to find the right pieces and parts. We were both, again, trying to learn the game. He was learning it. I was learning it. We were comparing notes, and, oh no, I don't think that's how that should be done. And so it was a good, fun, interesting scenario, although he started with like 8 guys on the board, and I started with 3 guys. And after the first turn, he had killed 2 of my guys. So, like, I mean, either he was doing something wrong or I was doing something wrong, because, I mean, the balance of the scenario is, maybe it wasn't 8, maybe he had 6 versus 3. So he had double my amount of units, and then every time he hit one of my guys, he killed them. And it was like, okay, so now I'm down to 1 guy. And for him to win, he just needed 4 victory points, and he got victory points for killing my units and for capturing buildings. And I'm like, you have 6 guys. I have 1 guy. How am I going to stop you from running into the buildings? There's no way. I can shoot one of you, but then I'm spent, I'm used, so the rest of your guys just run up and capture the buildings. So we called it at that point. But, yeah, so that was the first day of Buckeyegamefest. We have a list, which I've already put into my notebook for May. We played Role-Playing Adventures, brand new, 4 times. We played the first 4 missions because I have that actually still up in the shrink up there, and I wanted to learn how to play it so I could play it myself. We played first 4 missions over at my buddy's house one day. That's all we did was play Role-Playing Adventure, which is again dungeon crawl with some other mechanics going on where you're manipulating dice through card plays and stuff. Interesting, but I'm not 100% sure. But the reason it's not on my April list is because it actually was in May that we started playing these, but I'm going to talk about them now, so I don't need to talk about them in May. So we played Role-Playing Adventures. We got to play the Plum Island Horror with Herman Lutman, the designer. And yes, I know it's Herman Lutman, but I call him Lutman because that's my nickname for him. And he's my buddy. And so I got to play with the Player's Aid, Alexander and Grant. If you don't know about the Player's Aid, go check out their channel. They do a lot of wargaming stuff. Really good guys. We've had them on the War Room once. Anyways, I got to sit down and play with them and Herman and myself. So I felt very lucky to play with all of the big wigs. We played Plum Island Horror. Then I played Salton Sea, which I'm actually looking to try and pick up because it was a very interesting, worker placement game with card management, and you're trying to do things, and it was pretty interesting little game, and I thought I would like to try this solo. I played it with a couple guys. The guy that actually knew the game, taught the game, and there was me and another guy that had never played. The other guy won, and then I came in second, and the guy that knew how to play came in last. So he was befuddled on how the new guys did so well. And I would have actually the new guy won. I think he had about 60 some points. I ended up having 44, but I lost 14 points. No, I'm sorry, I lost 7 points because I had a 14-point card. I didn't know that at the end of the game, all your missions that you have that you don't complete are negative victory points. So if it's 14 victory points, you get -7 at the end of the game. I didn't know that, so I think I lost by like 20 points, but of those 20 points, 7 was because I didn't know that I was going to lose those points at the end of the game. So it was a little bit closer than it should. And the guy that knew what he was doing only had like 26 points or something. He was not, I don't know. He didn't do very good or whatever. He was very befuddled. I think what he was doing, and this is a great point, is he knew how to play, right? And so he taught us the rules, showed us how to play, examples, blah, blah, blah. And then we started playing. And it's always like, oh, what does this card do? Or what does this power do? And so he knew I had a card that was going to give him something. And he had a special card to copy. And he kept waiting for me to play this until I waited until he played his last meeple. And then I played the card. And he was so mad because he's like, I've been waiting for you to play that. And because he knew the game and he thought he was going to take advantage of us rookies. For shame on you. For shame. Trying to take care of, abuse the new guys. Well, that's what you get. We're just smarter than you think. Then we played Turing Machine. I played that on the channel, so it's not new. But I played that on the Board Game Arena. And I wanted to play this actually with the board game and see what it was like, because I've been thinking about getting it. I don't have to get it because I can play it on Board Game Arena. So I wanted to see what it was like with the actual game. So my buddy had a copy of it. We played it several times. And I'm a genius. That's all there is to it. I am a genius. I am a genius. Then we played Raising Robots, which is, this is what I've been looking at because it's another one of these engine building games where you got pieces and parts out on the board and then you're activating locations and then you get to activate all the locations just like your birds and Wingspan. You activate this, then you get to activate all the robots in that rhyme. And the first time we played the game, it was our first playthrough, me and my buddy, and we had a great time playing it. And it was a longer game, like 2.5 hours. But it was because this is one of these games that you assign your actions and parts, and then you take your turn, right? So in the beginning, it recommends that as you're doing your turn, the other people watch what you're doing and make sure you're doing it right. And if you have any questions or thoughts, blah, blah, blah. So it took us a lot longer that time. The second time we played it, what you're supposed to do once you know what you're doing is once everyone assigns their things, then you all take your turn simultaneously, which makes a great big dent in the, how long it takes to play the game, because now everyone's doing their turn simultaneously. But now you can't watch the other guy and make sure he's not messing up, or he's taking free resources, or he's forgetting to pay for things. So you're really, 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 really hoping your playing partners are not screwing you over, or you're not trying to screw them over, because I can see this game turning into one of those, well, how the hell did you do that? I don't know. It was during this turn, and no, you didn't have those resources. Yeah, I did have those. Okay. So you got to make sure you're playing with people you know and trust. And I wasn't trusting my buddy at all. Not at all. He's underhanded, no good. But anyways, a great little fun game. It's got another one of these cool, do this, and then activate this robot, which will let you, I'm going to get this part and these parts, and then I can play a card, and I get 2 resources, and all that fun engine building things. Then I played another game called Now Boarding, which is a cooperative. I think you can play competitive, but we played a cooperative game where you basically have the United States and different airlines routes mapped, and you're going to have people showing up in each different, like you draw a card and it tells you this person wants to go from Chicago to Denver. And so you got to go fly your plane over there, pick them up, and take them from Chicago to Denver. Sounds easy, but you start off the game with just two seats in your plane, and your plane can only move 3 spaces. And every turn, guys are coming out. And if you don't pick up somebody, they get mad. And if they get 4 cubes on them, then they file a complaint. And if you get 3 complaints filed against you, you lose the game. So it's all about managing your people and your plane and getting it from point A to point B. And when you do complete routes, then you earn money that you can use to upgrade your planes, get more routes, because you're like, my hub was out of Atlanta, so I could only go from Atlanta to Chicago, and Atlanta to Denver, and Atlanta to Miami, and Atlanta to JFK. So those are the only ones that my plane could go on. My buddy was on the kind of in the Midwest. I think he actually started in Chicago, and so he can go to Chicago to LAX, out to Seattle, and I forget exactly. But so he has different routes, and I have different routes. So it's all about, you're going to be in Chicago at the end of this turn, and I can bring this guy up, and he wants to go from Chicago to wherever, and then you can pick him up, and blah blah blah. So. And then you're working out the best strategy to move and pick up the most what do you want to call them? Citizens, whatever. You pick up the people, take them to their locations, and then go through the deck. And then at the end of the game, make sure you don't have 3 complaints. And so we won. Yay. We kicked it. We won it. We did good. Then we played another game, a brand new game. We played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I played 9 games in May so far. It's only May 6th. But a lot of these games we were playing 2 or 3 in a day during the Buckeyegamefest. Of those 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are brand new to me. So lots to talk about. As I talked about in the beginning, there's a lot to talk about. Then we played a game called The Reckoners, which is based upon Brandon Sanderson's novels of what do they want to call it? Anti-heroes. You're basically anti-heroes working against the guys with superpowers. And it was one of these games where you have our characters going up against different locations. The enemies got villains and enemies that pop up in the location. Then you do a little bit of a fight and battle. Then you can do your powers and they can do their powers. And then at the end, the mastermind activates his power. And it was like a 3-hour mission for us. Which was really, I'm trying to remember if we won or, can't remember if we won or lost. But this is one of these, for me, it was one of these games that was, more is not better in this case. It just felt like there was just too much going on in this game to keep it a manageable, fun time, I guess. It was a lot of work. It felt a lot like we would do things during our turn to take their stats down and take their special abilities down. And during their turn, all they did was get their stuff back. So it was like a little bit of this, knock them down 2 pegs and then they just got them back. And then knock down 2 pegs and get them back. And it was just constant back and forth like that, which is fine. It's just like you don't ever feel like you're getting anywhere. I guess the game would be better if you played with 3, 4, or 5 people. There was just 2 of us. So, maybe it would be better with more people. Because you have more interactions with the villain going to different locations. With 2 players, you only have 3 different locations for the villain to go to. And then it was a beast to set up because each of the different villains has their own player board or their own special board. You got a sideboard, plus you have the main villain board. It was just all over the place. I'm glad I don't now own that game because It takes up a lot of space, and it's one of these games. My buddy said he's had the game for like 2 years, and he's never got it out of the box. So he was happy that I was willing to try it out, and now I not only played it, I know I'm not buying it. Then to round out the week at Buckeyegamefest, another brand new game, never before played, and I got to play it with Herman Loopman again, Fortune and Glory. And we got to play that as Buckeyegamefest was wrapping up. Finally got the chance to sit down with Herman again. We sat down at Thursday at the beginning of the Buckeyegamefest. He was busy. I was busy. I wasn't there every day. I was at my buddy's house doing some gaming. So I didn't get to, hook up with him again until the very end, which was great. And so we got to sit down and play Fortune and Glory. It is basically a James Bond movie in a box with dice rolling. Not James Bond. Indiana Jones, sorry. Indiana Jones. It's very much like Indiana Jones. Why did I say James Bond? In a box, because you even choose like the Nazis to go up against. Yes, you go against the Nazis, and you got bullwhips, and so you're trying to be like Indiana Jones wannabes. You go into temples and try to get, you try to complete missions to get artifacts. The Nazis are sending out their scientists and stuff to different locations to try and get the artifacts before you do. And then you keep going on these missions. And as you get to the mission, then there's like 3 dangers. And you flip over a danger card. And you have to do like a test. And it might be like roll your cunning. And you need a 5 or higher. And so like you got 3 cunning. Then you're rolling 3 dice. And you need to roll a 5 or higher. And sometimes you need 1 success. Sometimes 2, 3, 4 successes. But as long as you roll at least 1 success, you can continue on. So if I roll 1, boom, then I got to roll the next one and the next one and the next one. So that builds the tension, which is great design. But 9 times out of 10, we failed the mission. And the bad thing is, once you fail the mission, you flip it over to the back side, which is the cliffhanger side, which allows you to have if you're in a plane, your plane's on fire, and you fail your mission, you flip it over, and you have a cliffhanger event, which would be like something like no parachutes, or 1 parachute left, or whatever it was. I can't remember. So you're like struggling to get that cliffhanger completed, which you could do. So it's kind of neat. It's kind of interesting. It is, it's all fun and games until someone rolls the Yahtzee. Yeah, it's crazy how many times you fail in this game, and it doesn't even sound like something that hard. Oh, I have 5 dice, and all I need to do is roll a 5 or higher, and I complete this mission. And no problem. Psh, oops. Damn. And once you go to the cliffhanger side of the mission, it's like harder, not super hard, but it's still harder missions to complete. And if you don't complete those, then you're knocked out. And basically the enemies move up on their little track, and every time they get an artifact, they move up the track. And once they get to like 15 victory points, they win. So just to give you guys an idea, the enemies needed to get to 15 victory points by killing us or capturing artifacts. And we needed to get to 40 because there was 4 of us that were playing. We needed to get to 40 fortune points. And you get fortune points by gaining the artifacts, doing great things, and there's certain rewards that you can get for completing missions or defeating enemies that are super hard or whatever. After like 2 hours of struggling and dying every other round, thank you me, I think the total was enemies got to 15 points, and I think we had like 8. I think we had 8 victory points, somewhere in the 8 to 9 victory point range. So we need to get to 40, but before they got to 15, and they got to 15 way before we got to 40. So I'm blaming that on Herman because Herman's like terrible game playing. Terrible. Terrible. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, that was the end of Buckeye Game Fest. And then, of course, Wingspan on the way home, so we add that to the list as well. So, woo! April, again, I started this an hour ago saying this is going to be a long episode. There's a lot to talk about. A lot of games we played. And, of course, I wanted to cover Buckeye Game Fest. Like I said, it started at the end of April, continued on into May. I'll probably talk a little bit about it at the end of May review show as well. But we did a lot of great things. We played, again, some games that I've never before. The solo dungeon crawl, pen and paper, solitaire game. We've done the Legends of Wrestling. We're setting up a new wrestling league. We've done some miniatures games. Plus, that's just all the extra stuff. That's why I started this an hour ago saying, oh my God, I can't remember playing Terracotta Army. I literally cannot remember playing. I mean, I remember playing it because I remember it was on the table and it's like on the top of my shelf over there. It wouldn't be on the top of the shelf if it wasn't recently played. So I know I did play it, but it was like, holy crap, if somebody would ask me like what games I played in April, I could, like, I wouldn't have remembered that I played Mystic Vale. I wouldn't have remembered that I played Clank. Terracotta Army, Star Realms. Some of these other ones I might have. That's why for me it's super important to keep track of when you play, what you're playing, how you're playing it, who you're playing with. Making sure you log every time on Board Game Geek. Make sure, again, I'm using Excel and Word myself to keep track of things because I want to know myself what I'm doing. And in case, something happens to Board Game Geek, I want to have a record of what I'm doing. And when you look at this and you go, wow, okay, we played 11 new games. Gentees, Agents of Smursh, Choose Your Own Adventure, House of Danger, Wormspan, Tiwatinasuyu, Mosaic, A Story of Civilization, D100 Dungeon, Legends of Wrestling, Black Powder, Miniature Game, Rebel Fury 2020, Rebel Fury, and Night of Man. Those are some great games. So we played 27 new games in 2024 in 4 months. So, in 4 months, so we're a third of the, 4, 8, 12, a third of the way through. We played basically rounded to 30 new games. So we're looking at somewhere around 90 more new games this year, 80 to 90 if we keep up this average going on. We've logged 31 games, sessions were logged in April. That gives us a total of 142 logged gameplays in 2024. Now, how does that compare to 2023? I don't know because I didn't keep those stats. That's why I'm doing that now, is so I can compare year to year and see how we're doing compared, from year to year. So, again, last year, 2023, we were focusing in on learning a lot of new games. We wanted to do 100 new ones. We did 132 new games last year. We were really focusing, I told you at the start of this year, we're not going to focus on playing every brand new game out there. But we're going to, just play and cycle things in, cycle things out, try new things, keeping things new and fresh and interesting. And eventually we'll play new games. As you can see, we played only 3 new ones in March. We played Return of the Heroes, Alter Quest, and VJ Anagara. Those were the only 3 we played in March. In April, we have 11 new ones. So it's just going to come and go, up and down. But we did log in 31 different game sessions. So, and then, like I said, in May already is a crazy. Again, we've already got 9 games logged as of the 6th. And we have 14 game plays already in. Because we've got quite a few things. Obviously, it helps when you go to a game convention. You got 5 or 6 days of nothing but gaming. You can get lots of games played. You get lots of sessions in. You get to try a lot of new things. Like I said, we've already got 7 brand new games in May. It's not going to happen all the time like that, obviously, but it does help when you go to the conventions. So, and again, I know I sound like a broken record telling you guys this, but make sure you're recording your stuff, recording your game collection, recording what you're doing, and this way you'll be able to remember what you had done and how you did it and who you played with and the moments that make up, the fun that you're having by playing this. So anyways, thanks everyone for coming out. I do appreciate it. It's good to see everyone again. It's been a while. I told you guys at the end of April was going to be delayed because we're going to be gone. So we're back in the swing of things, already up to the 6th. So I'm going to have to start getting some more games on the table. What are we going to do? I don't know. If there's something you want to see, let me know. Otherwise, we'll see you all at the end of May review, which we'll talk a little bit about the Buckeyegamefest, but we covered a lot of it in this session. So, and I think May is going to get crazy. I'm just saying. We're already 6 days in and 9 games played and 14 different plays. So we're going to have a lot to talk about in May. So thanks everyone for coming along with the ride. We'll see you next time, my friends. Take care. We'll see you all down the line.